Hello everyone and welcome to Create Your Life Story, the definitive guide in helping you record, edit and share life's memories with family in the world in a way that has never been possible until now, with ideas for starting today. I'm your host Ian Caff and this is episode 2. Why even bother with an audio life story? This is the second of 3 introductory episodes, I suppose you'd call them, about what this is all about and where we're going and what I'm hoping to achieve with Create Your Life Story. I'd like to know what you're up to, and you can get hold of the site over at Create Your Life Story, and of course just throw a chat before that, chat at Create Your Life Story if you want to get hold of me and let me know what you're up to. I'd love to know who's out there and what you're up to and what your goals are. So I asked the question just before, why even bother with an audio life story? Who'd be interested anyway? Wouldn't a written biography do the job just fine? Well, these are things I've been thinking about, and I've been reflecting on quite a few of them in realising the power of this particular medium that frankly isn't being utilised, and it's quite easily achievable by a lot of people. I suppose the beginning is, why even bother with biographies in the first place? I reckon there's several reasons for doing biography that many people haven't considered. We all know about the great things that some people get up to, and they're worthy of a biography, but the greatness is often not so much about the end result of what they achieved, but all the little things, all the small steps that led to that greatness, because we can relate to that, and I think that's quite significant. And when it comes to significant, it doesn't matter what somebody has done. If that person is significant to you, you'll actually care about what their story is. So if you're thinking about recording somebody else, chances are they mean something to you. So that's worth a biography in itself, even if it's just for you and the person you're recording. And if you want to record yourself, well, maybe you've reflected on your own life and you've thought, I've got some things here that I should share with whoever. Well, that's another reason for creating a biography. Those sorts of things, particularly for family, I think are profound, because family will always be interested in what people have to say. I think every grandchild is a little bit interested in their grandparents' life. It doesn't matter, even if they had a very boring life by grand standards, the fact that they are the grandparent of this person means that there is a connection through heritage, through family, that means that what they went through means something to you. And I think we should not underestimate the value of that to the generations that come. It's a snapshot in history. So often the histories of the world are written by the academics, and the everyman's story are the things that are forgotten and that are missed in those grand historical tomes. It's the everyday person's experience during the Depression and during the wars that I think are far more profound than the great military exercises. And I think when we sit and talk about our humble little lives, they sometimes say more about the culture of the time than the official histories. So I don't think we should ever underestimate what the average person might have to say about their life. And there's also another one that you don't actually hear about, and it's the journal or the diary. I think, as a case in point, a woman has become a young mother, and she records her experiences as she lives through them, for something for her to reflect on later in life, but also to share with her newborn child about this particular time in her life. I don't think we do a lot of that, but some people are very, very good at journaling, and I think there is significance in that for a form of biography, a current during life experience rather than a reflection on past life experiences. So they're the reasons for doing biographies. Why bother with an audio version? Well, everybody is fairly comfortable with the idea of picking up a word processor or a pencil and starting to scribble a few ideas down, but the reality is it's actually very difficult. And everybody's comfortable with the idea of maybe squirting off a bit of video or some photos, but often those things don't tell the story. And it's the coming together of all these things that I think audio does profoundly well. If I was to throw you my photo album and just let you look through it, I guarantee you would find it very, very boring. And I think that's the same for everybody's photo album. Those interminable slide nights back in the 70s or video nights in the 80s and 90s where somebody's just sharing shot after shot of their trip to Venice, they don't make any sense because they're just photos, they're just shots, they're just movies. And I think that's often the problem. And I was just listening to This American Life a couple of hours ago, and they were talking about how it's not so much the images and the movies that make sense, it's the context and it's the descriptions that go with them. Have you ever realised how often without a caption on a photo, you're looking at the photo wondering what it's all about, and then when it's explained to you, you suddenly have this epiphany of understanding. Oral history or audio is the link, I think. It's the glue that can put all this together, because you've got people describing in their own voice what certain things mean. I think a perfectly valid way of actually recording an oral history is to sit there with the photo album in front of you and flick through it, describing not so much the photos, maybe referencing them, but talking about what life was like when that photo was taken. Because this is oral history, and oral history is the original form of history. It's the system that we had long before we had writing, before we had text. It's the way that stories, rules, history was shared for millennia. And oral history is something that many native tribes still use today. We should not disregard it. Conversation is something that humans are very, very good at, and we often share this in ways that I think are more profound than we realise. We go to all this trouble with text and with videos to tell stories, but at the end of the day, when you're sitting with somebody and they're telling you a great yarn, it can be absolutely riveting.